Yes, folks, welcome back to Celtic Fans TV and welcome again to Warsaw at its Champions League Matchday Morning. I've got Scott with me to look ahead to tonight's game in that stadium behind us against Shakhtar Donetsk in Matchday 2. Scott, brilliant to be back in Warsaw, but what a place, isn't it?
We were here, 2 months ago for after Boruc's testimonial. Weather was a wee bit better, but dead impressed with the city. Relaxed, had a good night last night. Seen a lot of Celtic fans about. Just buzzing for the game now.
Aye. Shakhtar, obviously, we've played them before, many years ago though, very different team. They're going through a bit of a transition. Obviously we know they're playing here because of the situation with the Russian invasion in their country. They've had a lot of turnover of players. They had a brilliant win against Leipzig on the first match day. The thing about Celtic away from home in the Champions League is we don't have a brilliant record, only those 2 wins against Anderlecht under Brendan Rodgers and against Spartak Moscow under Neil Lennon in his first tenure. But this is a different Celtic team and it's not really fair to talk about that record because this is a totally new team, new manager, new style. So we've got to get into this game believing we can get something tonight.
I see when the draw came out, like you were probably thinking to yourself, Real Madrid dead certs to top the league. Between us and Leipzig for second and third place, and then Shakhtar probably last. To be honest with you though, see that result against Leipzig, that is a massive surprise for me. And they're scoring a lot of goals, but I think that probably plays into our hands. What depends though, see if you think about it, the way that they're going to play is very counter-attacking. They're going to sit back and wait for us to lose the ball. But that's what people do week in, week out with us. And it just might be that they're, well, I guess a hell of a lot better at counter-attacking than the likes of other SPFL teams, but I'm interested to see how it goes. I'm mega worried about Marian Shved scoring a goal.
Aye.
Because he's probably got a bone to pick. I actually was really excited about him when he was at Celtic, and so were a lot of other people. And he did look good in flashes, but it just obviously never worked for him. But I suppose that shows you the difference between having a really, really good coach. I think somebody like Marian Shved would have probably thrived under a coach like Ange. And just like you're saying, it is a different team that we're watching now, massively different team. It's been a while since we were in the Champions League. We had a terrible away record just in Europe in general, and then that started to kind of go away a wee bit, albeit in the Europa League.
Aye.
So it kind of seemed like that voodoo spell that we had on us kind of left. So it's interesting to see whether that is just totally in the past, and we can get some away record in the Champions League. As you say, totally different team. The belief going into this game, like no matter what other Celtic team you think of, you'd go into this game away in Europe and you'd almost be just conceded to, well, maybe play well. Let's hope we play well, but we're going to get beat. It's just totally different with this team.
Aye, there is a huge belief, and if we can get a result tonight, it'll put us in a great stead going forward in a group with still 4 games to play. You talked about Marian Shved there. 3 or 4 weeks ago, we didn't even know we were going to be facing him because he just signed. He's got 3 goals in his last 2 games. We've seen former players come back to haunt us in Europe before. Harold Bratt back at Rosenborg, Joe Ingeberg at Malmo. Surely no again.
Who knows? As long as we score more goals than them, I think we'll be all right. But he's an interesting young player, and he's going to be desperate to score against us because it's the same as, you know, if, like, for example, a Barkas played against us, he'd be wanting to have an absolutely phenomenal game because you want to show people that you were better than they had assumed that you were. Exactly. So fingers crossed he doesn't get lucky tonight, but if he does, I wouldn't be surprised. As long as we score more than them, I'm happy.
Aye, other threat for Shakhtar for watching that game against Leipzig looked like the boy Murdoch, I think, on the right, on the left hand side for them. So we need a big night out with Josip Zoranovic. But he's used to playing here, played in this stadium for Legia Warsaw, and we know that he can perform at this level. And if you look at that performance against Real Madrid last week for 60 minutes, across the pitch were really, really good. So if we can bring those levels again tonight, sustain them for 90 minutes, you'd fancy us to get something.
Well, that's the important thing, and it would be a totally different game against Real Madrid if we'd scored a goal within 60 minutes. I'd love to have seen how it would have went if they had to come out and attack us, and whether we could maybe have, maybe they would have just steamrolled us more. You don't know, but I'd really love to have seen how that would have developed, because the game would have looked a lot different. I think tonight, Juranovic is comfortable there, right? A phenomenal right back, and that's always been really, really important. Celtic to having really strong full-backs. Never have we seen the full-backs being as attacking or being as having been as comfortable in the centre of the park as we do now, right? But even Greg Taylor as well at left back. You guess was that in your starting 11? Greg Taylor. He's come on an absolute ton. And see if you said, I was going to say 2 years ago, maybe even
last year.
12 months
Even
ago.
the Bodo Glimt game 6 or 7 months ago.
Aye,
difference.
and you said we'll be playing against Real Madrid in 12 months or so, and Greg Taylor's going to play out his skin. And don't get me wrong, everything came down his side, right? Because they think there's a weakness there. But nobody walked away for that game thinking, oh, Greg Taylor's let us down.
Yeah, he's let us down, aye.
Nobody said that. He's come on an absolute ton, so mega proud of that young man.
Just on the starting 11, a few shouts in the comments on the starting 11 prediction I did here last night for Haksabanovic to start. I think a few people were saying maybe Abada drop out, Haksabanovic play, Jota maybe go to the right hand side. Do you see that happening?
I mean, it's a bit of a heavy-handed change. Like, I don't think
Too early yet for Haksabanovic?
Probably because Ange isn't one to try and shoehorn things in. He likes the way that it's not changing the system technically, right? But it's probably too big a change, right? Haksabanovic, phenomenal player.
Looks good.
We've not seen a lot of him, right? So we can't make early judgments. But on what we've seen so far, he's strong. So he's powerful and he's strong. And usually that you would lack touch or agility. He doesn't lack a touch or agility. He's a good dribbler and he's strong. So it's almost like take a guy like Giakoumakis and give him a brilliant touch and give him some dribbling skills.
Lose some height.
Lose a wee bit of height. That's almost what it's like. It's quite rare actually. And he did a good effort against Real Madrid as well, didn't he? Courtois made a good save.
Yep.
So I've been dead impressed with him. Do you move Jota to the other side just to fit him in when the current system of Jota and Abada or Jota and Maeda is working really well? I think it's a bit heavy-handed, but it depends. We don't see training.
I know. The thing I did say yesterday though is that front three, Abada, Jota, Kyogo, who I think will start, was brilliant on the counter-attack away in the Europa League last season. So I think that's the best setup for us to start with. And the thing about this Celtic team just now is competition for places all over the pitch, a really strong bench, and we'll need that again tonight. We'll have Giakoumakis on the bench if Kyogo does start. Haksabanovic will be there, plenty of attacking options.
There's loads of people to bring off the bench. That's what's so good about it. We're in a position, last year where you were thinking at the start of the year, you're thinking, who's even the best 11 here, right? And then now you're in a position where you could literally play two different starting 11s, and you could argue which one was the best. It's a phenomenal place to be. You're now in a position where you're worried about upsetting players who you don't want to lose and you want to keep happy because you want to give them game time because they're so good. So, brilliant headache for Ange to have. I'd like to see more Haksabanovic, but I don't really think. I feel a bit guilty moving Jota away to try and shoehorn Haksabanovic in the now, but again, don't see what's happening in training.
We've had a bit of a rest, obviously. The games were cancelled at the weekend, unfortunately. I mean, everybody wanted them to go ahead. I don't know why football, all the other sports seem to go ahead as normal, but football was just blanket cancelled across the country, which seemed a bit strange. How do you think that will stand us getting into this game? Do you think it's going to be a benefit? Shakhtar had a league game at the weekend. They won 2-1. They got a last-minute winner in added time. Do you think that rest will have benefited us and let us focus in this game for a bit longer? Double-edged sword, isn't it?
As a double-edged sword, I mean, modern day football, these guys are phenomenal athletes, right? And we had a rest. We had very few games at the start. One a week,
for the first
right?
4 weeks, aye.
And it seemed to work brilliant for us. Last year we had 2 a week.
Aye.
It seemed to work brilliant for us. So I just think it's almost irrelevant. Maybe a slight benefit because they can't focus on the game until after the weekend. We probably had the Champions League boys out for a whole week. So that's maybe a bit of a benefit, but only if there's a serious tweak that we need to make to match up against them, or something that we really had to learn. So, for example, imagine they were brilliant at set pieces, maybe we focus on that, we've got a whole focus on that. But I don't think there's one particular strength, apart from that they're really good in the counter-attack, that Ange would be willing to drill into the players for a whole week. But who knows, honestly, it's difficult to say. Probably wouldn't make a big difference either way.
Aye. There's a lot of unknowns about this game because I'm intrigued to see what the home support is like for Shakhtar Donetsk. Obviously, they don't usually play in this stadium. It's only for their group stage games that UEFA have said they have to play here. So is it going to be full? Is it going to be 3/4 full? We don't know. We expect the Celtic end to be as close to sold out as you could imagine. Expected to be a good atmosphere, a decent atmosphere in there for the testimonial. It was only like maybe 2/3 full at the Legia side. 200 or 300 Celtic fans, and the Legia fans made good noise. So I do expect it to be a brilliant atmosphere, but a lot of unknowns given that Shakhtar are playing in a stadium that isn't their home stadium. We've got to try and take advantage of that though, and make them uncomfortable. And for us to get into our rhythm early, that's important, isn't it? Because as we've seen last week, we did start the game really well, but the most important thing was that we didn't take a chance. We've got to take a chance, and if we get the first goal tonight, we can go ahead and win it.
100%. If we just match that intensity that we brought against Real Madrid for the first 60 minutes, if we could last that for 90, but even if we could only last that kind of intensity for 60 minutes here and took a couple of the chances, you probably don't need to last 90 minutes with that level of intensity. So that's what we're looking for as well. Have Shakhtar played a game here? I don't think they have.
I don't think they have it. I think their league games are still in Ukraine.
Right, under
closed
doors.
Behind closed doors.
Right. So Celtic played here 2 months ago. So it's
a wee bit of familiarity.
Aye, it's technically an away game for Shakhtar Donetsk. Celtic played here 2 months ago and they've not played here recently. So that's a massive benefit. See, when you're in Champions League and you're away, a nighttime game, and especially if they've got a strong fan base, it could be quite intimidating when it's somewhere like Ukraine. Whereas you're coming here, it's basically a neutral venue. We'll have just under a couple of thousand fans. I would probably estimate, was that a 30,000, 35,000 seat stadium? They'll probably have something along the lines of 15,000 fans, 20,000 fans max, I believe. That is a big advantage. But if we just match that intensity, Kyogo, I'm looking for him to go on the end of the ball.
Take a chance.
6 yards out, take a chance, exactly. I wanted to ask you though, right? Giakoumakis and Kyogo, do you think if both are equally match fit, right, are you saying... No, that's not what I'm going to ask you. I know the answer to that question. Everybody here knows the answer to that question. Right? What I'm saying is, if we're playing against any team, do you think under any circumstance Giakoumakis is the first choice against Kyogo, or do you think all being equal, everybody's match fit, Kyogo always starts no matter the opponent?
Aye, for me, I think Kyogo always starts, both fully match fit, regardless of the opponent. I would start Kyogo because I think he's more suited to the way we play. And I know that sounds a bit daft, and Ange says that having players in different positions, players in the same position with different attributes really helps give the team a different edge. They play obviously the same roles, but they bring a different skill set, and that's the case with Giakoumakis. He does press, he does fit in well, but his skill set is different, and likes of running behind. Kyogo running in behind, through and goal. You're much more confident that he'll score. Giakoumakis in the box, if it falls to him, goal. But with space in behind, dribbling through defences, getting on to passes in behind the defence, you're much more confident with Kyogo. I think that there is games, and we've seen it. Giakoumakis has done really, really well in the Rangers games. It was good against Real Madrid, I thought, last week as well. It's just a personal preference for me. I think if you could ask 50% of the supporters, they would say Giakoumakis, the other 50% would say Kyogo. And as I said last night, that's a good problem for Celtic, because
it's brilliant. When's the last time that happened?
Aye, like 18 months. You go back 18 months and we didn't have one striker. Now we've got two, and some people aren't sure who's best, and the two of them are brilliant.
So you saying against Rangers, Kyogo doesn't come off after a couple of minutes, we wouldn't go to win 4-0, it'd be 5-0? 7, I believe. 7.
Right, last one before we finish up. We would love to see us get a victory. Champions League away victory is so rare, but given it's the second game in the group, a draw I don't think is a bad result for us tonight.
Right, technically it's not a bad result.
They've still to come to Celtic Park, is what I mean.
I know, but I think
got to go try and win the game, obviously.
No, of course, I'm not saying that we're not going to try and go out and get a draw.
No,
I'm not saying that that's what you're saying. I just think that the stage that we're at, right, so we could have got something against Real Madrid, or we looked like we might have got something against Real Madrid, and we didn't get anything right. If we go and settle for a point here, you're then trying to bank on your home games, and it looks like the league, or the Champions League group we're in, it's been upset slightly by what we thought was going to happen. So I don't think you can take any chances. I'm expecting us to win. So if we get a draw tonight, I'm not going to be like, it's decent. It's a point in the Champions League. But I don't think that we can start just banking on only the home games against Shakhtar and Leipzig. I honestly think we're good enough to beat them, and we probably on paper should beat them. So that's what I'm going to stick with. I honestly don't think that because of the stage, because of the competition, and because they did well against Leipzig, that should change. We did well against Real Madrid. I know we didn't get any points, but no, I think we're here to win the game, and I expect us to win the game, and anything less is probably fell slightly short. Even if we play well, I think honestly we could win the game.
Aye, we know that an Ange Postecoglou team will be coming here to win. It'll demand a high level of performance across the pitch, though. That's it for the Champions League Matchday Morning. Join us after full time. We'll be here with the full time reaction. Hopefully it's a brilliant atmosphere and a great result for Celtic in that stadium behind us tonight. Thanks for joining us. Like this video, comment with your own thoughts below. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already, and we'll see you after the game. Cheers.